Welcome back to Living Local. This summer, the Quad City's very own Barely There Theater returns to the stage with Lear at Lear, a world premiere comedy that turns Shakespeare's greatest tragedy into a puppet-laced backstage farce. And at the center of all of it is Playwright, director, and Barely There founder, Alexander Richardson. And he joins us now. Hey, To Leer at Lear.
Yes.
Well, let's dig into that.
Yeah,
so
let's go for it.
It premieres this July. How would you describe the show exactly?
It's basically King Lear, the classic story that some people know, but funny. And when I say classic story, I mean the classic tragedy. How do we do that but make it funny?
Yeah, and what inspired you to kind of take this offbeat approach to it?
I wanted to do something funny in the first place because the news is just so kind of grim at the moment. I really thought people should
100%.
Get out and laugh for a couple of hours, and then I was like, but if I want to do something funny, I want to give myself a challenge. So what's hard and funny? Doing something really sad, but funny.
Yeah.
And so when I was thinking of stories I could do that are sad, they don't get much sadder than King Lear. So I was like, how about we just do this but for giggles?
Well, and I was lucky enough to attend a reading of it this weekend, and it's very funny.
Thank you.
It's very funny. And it centers around the new Dreadful Players, which is a fictionalized theater company from some of your earlier works. If somebody, it seems some of those at Playcrafters. You know, what was the inspiration behind those characters, and kind of what do they represent to you? Because they're very stock characters, right?
Yeah, there's like the diva who thinks she's way better than she is, but has nothing but mean things to say about everyone else.
Of course.
There's the producer who has no idea what's going on. I've been that more times than I'll care to admit.
Sure.
It just comes from my experience of doing theaters as long as I've been doing it, which is over half my life now, and all of the numerous, we'll call them wonderful people I've worked with over the years who have inspired me. And it's a love letter to them, but it's also kind of poking fun at them and, you know, just community theaters in general.
Yeah, right. And so this production includes a puppet. Now, Shakespearean tragedies, not known for their puppets.
No, not typically.
But what were the creative challenges in adding a puppet to it? Well, I guess first, let me ask, why a puppet?
Why a puppet? Fantastic question.
Yeah.
It's because for those familiar with King Lear, the king, who is played by a puppet in this production,
why not?
Yeah, why not? Is he does some really troubling things, and I was worried that if we had an actor doing some of these troubling things, people wouldn't be laughing; they would be worried.
Fair enough.
But if it's a big furry purple monster, people can laugh at that, and that's okay.
Yeah. And did that pose kind of a creative challenge in mixing the tones of, you know, once you add a puppet, I think that automatically makes things lighter, maybe.
Yeah.
But what was the kind of the challenge with that?
It was finding the right balance of still kind of keeping that like classic Shakespearean tragedy, very high emotional feel, but mixing it with a puppet in a way where it's like not too ridiculous, but also just the right amount of ridiculous. And so just kind of striking that balance of here's a puppet doing and saying very, very dramatic things. That's funny in and of itself, but how do we make sure it's like not too sad, but also not too funny, and just kind of finding the balance between the two.
Yeah, I love your writing because it always strikes a really interesting tone of happy and sad, because your scripts just in general are laugh out loud funny in spots and then like, oh my god, what happened? And that's why I'm such a big fan of your writing, and I think that rides that similar tone. It's mostly funny though.
Yes, that's the goal.
And I'll be curious to see where it goes from here too. But so, you know, Barely There Theater, it started out as kind of an audio drama. We're going to talk about that, but you kind of have a pay what it's worth ticketing model, which I'm a big fan of, especially right now. Why is it important that that pricing structure is kind of at the center of your company's mission?
Well, first and foremost, it makes theater accessible. Absolutely anyone can come and see a show. There's no price of admission at the door. You reserve your ticket online, which we highly encourage people to do. Seating is limited. People can come, they can come see the show for free, and then the pay what it's worth model is at the end of the night, each audience member decides what they think a ticket should have been worth.
I love that, yeah.
And it does two things. It lets people come and see the theater for free, but then it also keeps us as artists honest, because if you go and see a show and it's bad, and at the end of the night you're like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have spent $20 on that ticket at the door, don't pay anything. But if you have to pay what it's worth, we then have to give you a good show so that you give us something in return. So it's kind of a nice balance of lets people in the door, but then also make sure we, work our butts off on stage to be funny.
I dig it. I wish more people would do something like that. I mentioned, so Barely There Theater, it's a primarily an audio drama, right? It's kind of a podcast that you post rehearsal content and kind of audio dramas, and it's great, I think. What else is coming up this season? I know you have quite a few things that are being released.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we just released a couple of weeks ago an audio play version of Trifles by Davenport-born playwright Susan Glaspell.
Yeah.
She was a big part of the feminist literature movement in the early 20th century. Coming up in a few weeks, we have the famous T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, which is a poem, but it's now a little radio play, which is a fun change.
Nice.
And then finally, coming up later this summer, we have a radio play production of King Lear. So for those who enjoy To Leer at Lear, please come and listen to King Lear and see how it's like when it's done for real.
And for someone who has never experienced Barely There, either on stage with last year's All American Riots or in their ears, I guess.
Yeah.
Why is To Leer at Lear maybe the right place to start?
Because it's going to be so funny. Already out of the gate with the reading we had just a few days ago, we were laughing out loud at least once a page.
It was so funny.
And I want to get those numbers up even more, so we're laughing several times a page if possible. And the show, if you've ever done any community theater of any kind, or even seen any community theater, you're going to laugh at this show. If you're a Shakespeare nerd, you're definitely going to laugh at this show. But something we're really working hard in rehearsals and workshopping is to make sure that anyone can enjoy this. We're kind of trying to build it and make it feel like a sitcom where you can come in and recognize immediately, oh, that's the goofball, that's the diva. You can tell immediately who these people are, and that they're just telling jokes to one another. And it's okay to laugh first and foremost, but then you don't need to be a theater person to get the jokes. That's something we're working very hard on.
I love it. Well, I hope it's a huge success, and I know we're going to have you back on closer to the opening date to chat more and see what the progress is like.
Absolutely.
So, thanks,
Hopefully
man. I
it's good.
appreciate it. Yeah. For more information, you can check out Barely There Theater on Facebook, Instagram, and you can visit barelytheretheater.com. We'll have all those details posted at ourquadcities.com.